So I've got to ask, what would happen if you simply reinvented you? The first time I reinvented myself, I was 11 years old. And my parents sent me to summer camp, Camp Rolling Hills in West Virginia. And so Camp Rolling Hills in West Virginia was a 2-week summer camp for poor kids and troubled kids. You can imagine the fun. And so I spent 2 weeks with other poor kids and juvenile delinquents. And it was there at Camp Rolling Hills that I decided to reinvent myself. I loved nature growing up. I never got one award for anything growing up. Back in the old days, you got awards if you came in first, second, third place, maybe fourth, fifth, and sixth. But beyond that, you didn't get any rewards, and I didn't get any awards. I was that kid, right? I was smart, but I didn't want to let on I was smart because, not only did I get beat up already, I didn't want to keep... When I let on that I was smart, the quote-unquote dumb kids made me do their homework. Right? And so I decided at Camp Rolling Hills to reinvent myself. And I became Mr. Nature. I didn't know I was becoming Mr. Nature. I just started taking every nature course they had and scoring exceptionally high. I got more first place awards that summer than... Well, obviously, more than I ever got my entire life before because I never had one before. And at the banquet the last night at Camp Rolling Hills, and they're passing out the awards, and I got awards for orienteering, I got awards for plants, I got awards for making shelter, I got awards for all kind of stuff, tracking, as much as you can teach an 11-year-old little boy those things. I got all these first place awards, and then they said, we've got a very special award, one that we've never given out before. And the young man that gets this award today deserves it because he has taken first place in every nature-based activity we had this season at Camp Rolling Hills. And we call it the Mr. Nature Award, and the Mr. Nature Award goes to... And I don't think I've ever smiled that big in my life. I actually became somebody. And this is what I want for everyone. I want everybody to discover the somebody they choose to be, that they want to be. And so I changed who I was at Camp Rolling Hills. I was 11 years old. And I came back. I put all my medals, all my little trophy things. They were just lovely. They were all made of wood, right? They carved these things. They burned them out with wood burners. I mean, they really took their time. It was awesome. I should see if my mom still has any. Share a photo with you. But, I came back to the old neighborhood, to the old associations, to the old bullies. And I put my transformation on the shelf. Because I wasn't surrounded by those who I was with when I transformed. And I just became the weird kid again, the kid that got beat up by everyone, including the girls that were younger than I am. Mom told me never hit a girl, never have, except for Celeste Boy. Celeste Boy was a yellow belt or a blue belt whenever I started Kempo karate. And they told me I had to hit her. And I didn't actually hit her, but I learned how to spar with Celeste Boy and Randy Meadows. Randy, on the other hand, was a full-grown black fella. Came from a family full of professional athletes. And Randy taught me how to defend myself, too, because Randy wasn't going to let up on me. I actually got my first-degree black belt before Randy, but that's another story. We were school brothers. But meanwhile, so I came back from Camp Rolling Hills at 11, got picked on. And something kept nagging at me. I kept looking at those awards, and I realized it's time to reinvent me again. This time forever. This time in a way that changes everything. And I started imagining being a black belt. I started imagining being a black belt in Kempo karate. And I started reading judo books and karate magazines. Started buying karate magazines. I went door to door and started weeding people's lawns. I made up business cards out of index cards. We'll work for money. Put them in the rich people's mailboxes. Made money. Bought magazines. Changed life. It's also when I started buying good books because I had money. Because I decided to do something different. I decided to stop waiting for the world to change. And I decided to change who I was. Neville Goddard says, "No one to change but self. Do not attempt to change the world. Change you." So I imagine being a black belt in Kempo karate, and you'll never guess what happened. The school starts passing out flyers for the local YMCA. New instructor in town, Rick Puckstaller, Kempo karate, Scottsdale YMCA. Classes start in 5 weeks. Well, I'm trying to figure out how am I going to pay for this. I mean, I'm going to need a uniform. I'm going to need gloves, gear. I mean, it tells you this stuff. After 8 weeks, you're going to need a uniform, gloves, gear, so on and so forth. And so a week goes past, another week goes past, another week goes past, and the dream doesn't die. And so my dad and I, we were in his pickup truck. We were driving north on Route 119 near the Volkswagen plant. And I asked him, I said, "Dad, would you help me? Would you pay for me to take martial arts classes?" And you've probably heard this part of the story before. He thought I said marital arts. My dad was hard of hearing. Worked in a steel mill all his life. I think he's dyslexic as well, but that's another story. I said, "No, Dad, martial arts, like karate, kung fu." And he looks at me and he says, "I'll support that. I'll invest in that for you." And my entire life changed because the books that I was reading, the positive thinking books, the meditation books, the books that kept saying you can, well, literally what I say, you got a choice. You can be the pilot or the passenger. And if you want to be a pilot, you notice when you go to the airport, there's the pilot's lounge. They don't hang out with the passengers. So I signed up for class. Some of y'all know Rick quit teaching to build a house. Turns out he was building a house 1 block exactly from my mom's house. I went over there and helped him every day. Got private lessons in the mud while helping him do whatever he needed done for his house. Your desires are divine in origin. You can actually have dream-driven days. But you're not as long as you wait for the world to change. I changed the world temporarily. I changed who I was temporarily. When I went to summer camp, West Virginia, Camp Rolling Hills. I changed myself permanently when I adopted the attitude of Kempo Black Belt. If you got gold today, if you want to stop having this stuff, so many people approach manifesting as solving the next freaking problem. And I'm going to tell you, that's exhausting. It was exhausting for me to avoid the bullies in the neighborhood. The more I avoided one bully, hey, everyone joined in the fun. Look at him run from us. All right, look at him hide from us. Look at him stay home. Look at him. It gets exhausting trying to avoid problems. It's exhilarating to give life to the lovely. So I'm going to invite you today to 2 things. Number 1, manifestingmasterycourse.com. That's the 90-day adventure, $97. manifestingmasterycourse.com. Takes about 10 minutes a day. It'll totally rock your world. More accurately, you can totally rock your world with it. Read the testimonials. You decide for yourself. Number 2, joinremarkable.com. You know that whole thing about the pilots don't hang out with the passengers? It's true. Joinremarkable.com is an immersive experience. Joinremarkable.com is about you. Well, it's about eagles hanging out with eagles. It's about doers hanging out with doers. And if you join today, you get members get the Remarkable Vault. Over $1,000 worth of goodies are inside, including ManifestingMasteryCourse.com. Why would I do something crazy like that? Because I know immersion works. I could have never learned from magazines in 6 years what I learned in 6 weeks from Rick Poxtaller. I couldn't have learned in 20 years what I learned from him in the 2 years that he lived 2 blocks away or a block away from my mom. It was so cool hanging out with Rick and Randy and this other fella Gary and Charlie. And these guys had all put time in. And I was the new kid. And they supported me because I was hungry. Because they'd show me something and I'd do it and I'd come back for more. And then dish it in the most lovely way. So if you got gold today, those are my suggestions for you. And the big suggestion, whatever you decide to do, is you get to have a life that's governed by one of 2 things. You get to solve yet another problem. You get to solve problems. You get to avoid problems. You get to be in orbit and trying to escape from problems at the same time. Or you can let this be about total transformation. And it works because you are God having the adventure of a lifetime. Join us. And now for fun, let's imagine a lovely version of you today as we go into the silence. Dive deeper, soar higher. This is your life. Your life was meant to be lived. And if you want help with that, we're here. Have a lovely day. See ya.